Hi, everyone, and welcome to Studio Jake. I, of course, am your host, Jacob Airy. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to my vidcast. Here, I talk about all things pop culture, film, television, anime, and novels. Today, I'm going to be talking a little bit about science fiction. And, you think about, some of the great science fiction writers. You've got Gene Roddenberry, you've got Isaac Asimov, Philip K. Dick, a whole bunch of amazing writers. And, it goes even farther back. I mean, you think about Jules Verne, some of the more grounded people consider Jules Verne to be one of the first people to bring steampunk science fiction into the forefront. It's a genre that resonates with a lot of people. It's I think that's just because we like the idea of seeing what humanity looks like in the future and beyond. And recently, though, a lot of particularly television sci-fi has been really poor. It's been a desert. I mean, sure, I've not seen it, but I know some people recommend the Orville and whatnot. But I really wanted to focus on book reading because I really feel that with television and movies going into seemingly doubling down on the sort of political pandering that they're doing, that it's just going to get worse. I don't really see an end in sight. I take that back. I do see an end in sight. I just think it'll happen slower than most people think. And I have to admit, this opinion about me changes. Sometimes I see things and I think, oh, there's hope, the tide is turning. And then I hear other things and I'm like, oh man, the tide isn't turning. But I wanted to give you some alternatives because I don't just want to complain about the problem. I want to showcase authors who are doing good work, who are bringing us good science fiction. And now some of these are older titles, but I still, if you haven't heard about them, I want you to be able to give them a chance. So diving into it, one of the first ones I wanted to talk about is the Daystar Voyages. Now, this is good. Maybe you, if you're an adult reader, you may not enjoy this series. It's very simplistic, but it's got a lot of science fiction tropes, space travel, organizations, and competing, vying for power. And it follows this captain who, he's kind of a roguish captain, and he is the commanding officer of a ship called Daystar. And what happens in the series is he actually made like the secret deal. And so he recruits pilots who got washed out of their equivalent of a space academy. And he recruits all of them. They kind of become, they're child geniuses, but because of certain personality issues, they got kicked out of the academy. They're all like child geniuses. They range from age, some being really young to one being 17 when the series begins. And now there are adults in the show. His first officer is an adult. The medical officer is an adult and whatnot. But it's very interesting to see it develop. Now, again, this series, it was written by Gilbert Morris, who primarily does more like romantic thrillers, sometimes just romance. He's very big into that. But he wrote this series for teens and young adults. I highly recommend it if you're a parent and you want something to read with your kids, but you don't want them to necessarily read stuff that's politically correct or politically pandering or, caves to a certain trend. This is a really good series for them, and you can read along with them. There's 12, I think, in all, and I really think you will enjoy it, just at least as a family. I'm really big about finding stuff that families can do together. Now, on that note, someone that I know, an acquaintance of mine, I've had him on Studio Jake, John Delarose. So John Delarose, he has this series called The Eregian War. And it was actually also recommended by Tim Pool. It's got 4 books in the series. The first 3, The Stars Asunder, The Stars Entwined, and I just started The Stars Rejoined, and then he has this spin-off Colony Launch. They are fantastic. The first 2, I haven't read the third or Colony Launch yet. but the first two at least are very good. It's got really great story to it. It's got, basically humanity is at war with this alien race called the Eurasians, and a human spy is sent into the ranks to do some, spying, espionage, and also to do some sabotaging, and he ends up falling in love with a female of the species who is destined to become a leader of the Eurasians. So it's very good. It's very compelling. I highly recommend the first two, and I'm sure when I'm finished with 3 and 4, I'm going to highly recommend. But it's really good. It's got space travel, space battles, everything in between. I highly recommend it. So you all know that I am friends with author C.S. Johnson. And you might know her from her steampunk series, from her retellings of fairy tales, and maybe some of her novellas like The Princess and the Peacock. She does a lot of genre bending, as she calls it, and she's very good at it. By the way, I've read several of her novels, and like I mentioned, The Princess and the Peacock. Highly recommend all of those. On that note, she has this series called The Divine Space Pirates, and it is what you're looking for as far as space travel and, kind of ship logistics, and it's got everything in between. Her stuff is really fantastic. Pretty much every genre that she has touched, she has made it better. I'm being very well. C.S. Johnson, like I said, she's a friend of mine, so I might be a little biased, but I highly recommend Divine Space Pirates. It's a really good alternative to sort of the political pandering that we're seeing happening in Star Trek and Star Wars. So another one that I recommend. Now, this one isn't really space travel. This is more survival science fiction, and it's got like a little blend of fantasy in it. So I guess you might want to call it more speculative fiction than sci-fi. But if you're not really into the whole space travel stuff, this might be a good one for you. And it's The Council Wars by John Ringo, and the first book in the series is called There Will Be Dragons. So basically it's in this future where humanity basically has all their whims taken care of thanks to a highly advanced AI system. And there is this council that controls it all. And basically through nanites, nanotechnology, humans can also take on different forms. So some of them will turn into animals. Some of them will be werewolves. There's a whole group that are called the elves, and they choose to live the life of nature. They live off in the woods and whatnot. And basically what happens is some members of the council go to war with each other and over resources, because one of them, he starts to think that humanity has become soft because of all of the luxuries given to them by this advanced AI. So because of this war, it causes all of these luxuries to shut down instantaneously. So apart from the war that's going on, it also follows the main character of the story, and he decides to build his own society apart from the council. He knows that there are nefarious forces at work, and so he decides to just basically build his own nation. And he is a historian, so he goes about, he knows how to set it up. He decides to make a constitution. He decides to raise an army. And there's a subplot involving his ex-wife, or she might be his fiance, I can't remember, but they have a daughter together. And there's a subplot involving her as she's trying to make her way back to where he is, and apart from everything going on. I highly recommend it. It's really good. And like I said, if you're not really into sort of the space stuff, but you really like science fiction, technology, like the blend of science fiction and fantasy, this is a really good novel series. I believe there's 4 in the series, and he wants to write a 5th one, but for now there's 4. So... And then last but not least, so this is a newer one. So if you're like, Jacob, all those titles are kind of old. I want to see something new. What's going on? Well, don't worry, I've got you covered. This is Captain Corinth. The Galactic Navy officer becomes an adventurer by At- Atsuhiko Itoi. And now there are two versions of this. So I have the manga form because I'm a comic book fan. I like to read manga forms of Japanese works. So basically, Captain Corinth, he is the commanding officer of this vessel, and humanity's at war with this savage race of aliens that are simply known as the bugs. The humans don't actually know their real names. They just come out of nowhere and attack. His ship gets attacked and he crash lands on this planet. And he's got all this technology. His ship's AI is downloaded into his backpack, which you can kind of see there. And basically, he runs into this girl, and she had almost been killed by an attack. She actually lost her arm and her leg in the attack. And so her name is Claria. Now, it comes to find out on this planet, magic is real. And where I'm at in the story is he's just kind of realizing that something is off. So he doesn't know that magic is real on this planet yet. But I highly recommend it. It's the first one at least is fantastic. The second one and third one come out this year, I believe, which I totally plan on pre-buying. I mean, I just loved it. I thought it was great. And like I said, they have it in novel form. So if you are one of these prudes who doesn't like comic books or manga or whatnot, they do have it in novel form. It's called a light novel because they're short. It's basically like a little bit longer than a novella, but not quite long enough where the big wigs in the publishing industry want to call it a novel. But I highly recommend it. Definitely check it out. And like I said, just as far as the first one goes, I think it's pretty good. So last but not least, now these are not science fiction novels, but I also just want to give a shameless plug to my novels. This is my first novel, Cacophony. It's paranormal. Sorry, I talk good, I promise. It's a paranormal story about demons who are trying to take over a town, and the angels sent to stop them. And the Seven Royals series. So All Good Things is the first book in this trilogy, soon to be trilogy, and Breaking the Stars is the sequel. It's about your favorite fairy tale characters who come together to stop an evil mage from conquering their kingdoms. They have to battle this organization called the Sorcerer's Society and their dark army. So I highly recommend them if you like fantasy. Of course, I'm going to recommend my own books. I'm not going to tell you that they're bad. Definitely check them out. They're all available on Amazon or barnesandnoble.com in print and digital. However, if you want the digital version of Breaking the Stars, it is only available at booklocker.com. So it's there exclusively. Definitely head over there and check that out as well. But anyway, I hope my list of these books help you out. I hope that you're able to find something from one of the suggestions or from all of them. Let me know if you've read these books, what you think about them. Also, if you have recommendations, please let me know in the comments below. And of course, before I go, just one last thing. Have to give an honorable mention to the C.S. Lewis Space Trilogy. I've talked about it on this channel and on my website, StudioJakeMedia.com before. Highly recommend it. You don't usually think of C.S. Lewis. He usually mainly does fantasy type stuff, so you don't always think of him as a science fiction writer. But he did write those 3 books, and they're all fantastic. I highly recommend them. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you'll give it a thumbs up, that you'll leave me a comment and tell me what you think, that you'll share it out with your friends, and of course, consider subscribing to Studio Jake. I cover all kinds of nerd and pop culture topics, including film, television, anime, comic books, and so much more. I hope that you'll also head over to my main website, StudioJakeMedia.com, where I have even more news, views, and commentary. Also, if you'd like to support the channel, head over to my locals page. That's studiojakemedia.locals.com. It's the best way to support me. I'm trying to build a little community there. I have exclusive reviews and articles, so definitely head over there and check it out. And I'll see you next time right here on Studio Jake.